Evening, I call to order this regular joint meeting of the Minnehaha County and Sioux Falls Planning Commission, and I will begin with a few introductory comments. First of all, I am the chair. My name is Bonnie Duffy for the County Planning Commission, and tonight we have John Paulson here for the City Planning Commission. As a courtesy to everyone here tonight, please make sure that all cell phones are turned off. Please note that tonight's Planning Commission meeting will be rebroadcast via CityLink and posted on the www.minnehahacounty.org site for viewing by the general public. The two planning commissions work together on land use and zoning matters within the rural area surrounding the city. This area is displayed on the screen. When this joint hearing is completed, the joint Sioux Falls and County Planning Commission will adjourn, and the next regular business meeting will begin to consider items beyond the joint zoning jurisdiction with Sioux Falls. Action taken on the rezoning application during the public hearing tonight is a recommendation that will be forwarded to the Joint County Commission and City Council for another public hearing on Tuesday, August 24th at or after 5 p.m. Joint meetings of the County Commission and City Council are held in Carnegie Town Hall at 235 West 10th Street. First on the agenda is public input. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? At this time, the Planning Commission will consider the minutes from the June 28th meeting. Does any Planning Commission member wish to have any item removed for discussion? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the June 28th meeting. All those in favor on the county side?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
On the city side, commissioners, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We have a motion.
On to the regular agenda. For the regular agenda, we will follow our normal hearing procedure by requesting the planning staff to present a report on each item, and then request the petitioner to come to the podium and make a statement or answer any questions. Anyone from the audience wishing to address the item shall be recognized by the chair. Move to the podium, state your name and address for the record. The Planning Commission will then discuss the matter and take appropriate action. Item number 2 is a rezoning, 21-01, to rezone from A1 Agricultural District to Laurel Ridge Plan Development on the property legally described as Lot B, Track 1, Laurel Ridge Addition, the southeast quarter, and Lot A, Track 1, Laurel Ridge Addition, the southeast quarter, all in Section 23, 102-49, Mapleton Township. Petitioner is Tyler Childress. He's also the property owner. This is located approximately 3/4 of a mile north of I-90 and 3/4 west of County Highway 125. Kevin?
Good evening, Kevin Hookman, County Planning Department. As you just heard the legal description described there, the petitioner is planning to rezone the east 200 feet of Lot B. This would be an expansion to the existing planned development district, the Laurel Ridge Plan Development District that was approved in early 2019. The east 200 feet, it would be rezoned into the sub-area A of that planned development district. Sub-area A specifically allows the permitted use as banquet/reception hall and events facility. So the long-term goal of the petitioner is to expand his existing use to add another events facility or banquet hall. I'll just give you a little bit of an idea of what the concept plan for the extra building is going to look like first here going forward. So this is the A-frame structure, and then the site plan where the building would go on the property. Planning staff has been researching into this site plan and driveway access as one of the primary concerns between county planning staff and the city planning staff as well. Mapleton Township, County Highway Department, and the City Streets Departments all had input into this. For some context, this portion of Slip Up Creek Road will be paved in the near future to allow easier access into Veterans Cemetery north of the planned development. The County Highway Department, their primary concern, like I said, is access, and their standards allow one access for every 1,000 feet of road. If you go back and kind of look at this map, you'll see that there's 3 separate access points. Through much discussion and emails and such, the City Streets Department also commented the current driveway and on the property crosses city-owned property, and the city is declining to access at this time. That is kind of looking forward into this planned development zoning district, though, that this petitioner, this is the rezoning of the land, that there will be a final development plan after this, and it's more that time that we would discuss the access points to the property and how the property is going to be laid out with parking and that sort of stuff. I would also add that the city planning staff has submitted a comment letter to all the planning commissioners, and their comments included the concern about the driveway access, but also concern about having multiple zoning districts and sub-areas on one parcel of land. For the county, this is more common to have that sort of a setup where where a parcel has multiple zoning districts according to how the petitioner, the landowner, wanted it to be rezoned. So the Minnehaha County does not have a concern about multiple zoning districts on one piece of land. And the city's comment letter does not have a recommendation for the rezoning. Minnehaha County staff is recommending approval of rezoning number 2101. And I'll just go over a few site photos here as well. This is kind of looking south on the property, roughly where the proposed structure would go. This would be looking south and east on the property, more to the east. This shows the primary access that was that's currently serving the property, and then this is going back down to the far access on the north side, looking back up to where the property will be. And then this is looking from the current driveway down to the far north driveway. And then this is looking west towards the housing development. And you can see there that the roadway has been treated with dust suppressant as was required in the previous agreement with the county and the rezoning. Wherever the driveway does land, the petitioner will be required to continue dust control until the road is paved. So I'll go back to the site plan. And I am here for any questions, and I know the petitioner is here as well.
Any questions for Kevin?
No questions?
I guess not at this time. Might call you back. Is the petitioner here? Will you please step forward, state your name and address?
Hello, I'm Tyler Childress, 47677 Slip Up Creek, Sioux Falls there. Thanks for having me, appreciate it. It was a great time 2 years ago when we got to rezone the other part of our property, and we've learned a lot. A lot of that's been that the Sioux Falls community needs more and more of these. These have been come open more often, and we're all full and we're all busy. What we've learned is we serve the community very well, and that we take things serious and operate our business in a way anyone should. Our original plan was to kind of come off a old farmstead road from the north there. We're open to the idea of changing the access point. Currently, we have 2 legal access points. The third one is a non-platted one, so this comes in on the non-platted portion, and we're open to talking about that. But the land use would be similar to what we have currently there. Those 2 parcels are fenced off, so there's a separation of space and such. Yeah, I'd love any questions you have, and questions for me or the plan or the future.
Any questions for him?
Any questions, commissioners?
I guess I have one.
Yeah.
You're just building some smaller versions of what the big building is, isn't that correct?
Yeah, so the original one is seats about 450 around table capacity. This will be about 300, so it's a little bit smaller size. So similar, same use for weddings, for events, for receptions. So just building upon that same business plan.
Any other questions? It's not at this time.
Thank
Is there anyone else that in the audience that cares to speak to this item? Commissioners?
Madam Chair, inasmuch as there seems to be a working plan that, without any opposition, I'll make a motion to approve rezoning number 21-01.
Making a motion, can I have Albert come up?
Oh, sure.
Oh, sure, sorry.
I was hoping more people would speak, but
Sorry, I was just waiting for,
I did-
Albert, this letter, can you explain a little bit your letter that you guys wrote?
Absolutely. Albert Schmidt, City of Sioux Falls Development Planning Services, or Planning and Development Services, excuse me. With this one that we have in here, the land use itself, we find it's applicable. There's already use out there expanding into this area we're actually fine with. It's the timing of that and trying to make it so that we're consistent with what we've done elsewhere in the county in the joint area. So back in 2018, Emerald Pines PD was approved as well for another event barn on the west side of town. They were made to plat and then rezone. So we did a PD approval, then they platted at that time after that and then built. So we just want to make sure that same general process is followed to make sure that we're treating all of them the same. So that's why we feel with this one having multiple zonings on the same lot, it doesn't follow that same intent from 2018 with Emerald Pines, and we'd like to make sure we're treating everybody the same. So that's why our suggestion is to plat this, then rezone it to make sure it gets done. So that's kind of our quick and there. But land use wise, it's a beautiful site, beautiful facilities out there. We don't actually have any issues with the expansion of that area and those uses out there.
I guess another question would be, what kind of parking is going to be here? I think a couple years ago, the biggest thing on this was basically that curve. Everyone was concerned about that curve and a lot more cars, going in there now. I mean, what are we looking at for parking? And, access, I think, would be a big issue on something like this. And I know it's something we don't look at right now, but that's pretty bad access, so.
Sure, and right now, we're talking about the rezoning aspect of it, so that specifically with this concept plan, it's hard to exactly say. There's obviously a lot of things that need to work out with that access between the county, city, and the property owner. And so I wouldn't get married to what this looks like today, but know that, with the parking standards that in place we have in there, they're gonna have to provide that. They'll probably obviously also have an overflow area for additional parking on their property. So from a staff perspective on parking on that side, the parking aspect, I'm not as concerned about. It's just a continued expansion of the existing use out there. We haven't seen any major issues that I'm aware of out there from the existing one. This is a larger location. I don't know that you're going to see a continued or a new problem out there. The existing access, main traffic is going to come from the west. That's why they're required to, use mag water and get that control down for dust. And so, from a staff perspective, from city side of things, we don't have any major concerns on that based on the expansion of the use.
So the
at this time.
biggest thing is just having it replatted.
We just want to make sure we're following the same processes that we made Emerald Pines go through.
And is that something that we could put a condition on, having it replatted before, or would we have to wait?
I'd have to go over I'd have to let Scott tell me exactly how you think you want to do it on. But in my mind, you have a couple options. Either A, you can go denial based on this, or B, you could try to put a condition that no building permit is issued till it's separately platted. But that's typically not something you'd have on a rezoning standard.
Okay.
So hopefully it's helpful.
And so if we deny it, usually typically they have to wait 6 more months, so is that correct?
Well, unless you had something, so say Sioux Falls rezone request, if it's the same exact request coming through, you have to wait 6 months. If it's something where there's a substantial change in there, then you could reapply. So at this instance, if they were coming through with one lot, they replatted it as we suggested and asked for, we would consider that a substantial change and allow them to come right back in.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Hey, Albert, one more question.
Yep.
In your letter, you mentioned it's a tier 3 in the growth jurisdiction. Can you explain that, like timelines and what that means?
Sure. So our growth plans are ever-changing always. They're based on where we anticipate services being delivered, such as water, sewer, and roads. This location is in a Tier 3, which means a Tier 1's in the next 5 years based on the CIP plan, a Tier 2's in that 6 to 15-year category, and then a Tier 3's in that 16 to 25-year category of when we anticipate having services out there. Ever-changing, always evolving, just based on the standards that we're looking at and where we're going to put new lines in. So every few years, there can be substantial changes in that side, but this time, that location hasn't changed from a Tier 3 for a while. And the basic issue out there is just getting water and sewer out there. It just takes that amount of time. So rightfully so, it's a tougher one, and when you do platting, we tie some other things to that, so it's understandable that people don't really want to get ahead and kind of pay those things that far in advance, but it's just kind of the standard practice that our engineering department has, and we just try to support them the best we can in the planning office. So hopefully that helps with the answer there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the petitioner had something.
Would you like to come forward again? Sure, go ahead.
If possible, thank you. So a couple things. The 26 acres that we had previously that was done, I want to make sure we understand that that was multiple zoning categories as well. We had a portion of it that was for commercial, other portion for ag. We have horses outside. So the precedent that has been sent for our property, we already have multiple zonings inside that platform. We have a building that you can't see in here that has horses inside them. We have 25 acres of horses out there and grazing, so we have ag income off that. So this would not change that. It'd be a multiple zoning in both those parcels. Also for access, the city has asked us to come off the existing access we already have. Again, we have 2 legal access points. The one in their concern is one right on the corner. No one has been awarded the job yet of how that will change that curve. But right now, we have 2 legal access points. The township today does approve our facility, approve access points. We have multiple ways to get in there. Also, last time, we did not replat. So this is not different than what we currently did 2 years ago. So the precedent was sent on our plan development for that. And then water, sewer, and roads, we run off well water, so we're self-contained on that. We've got 3 different wells that we use. Sewer, same thing. We'll have an engineered designed sewer plan that we'll put in place, so we'll be self-contained on that as well. So I think we're doing all the things proper for that. Sometimes it's hard to hear when the city asks for replatting fees. The reason they do that, it's a tax burden to grow the city, and we want to just make sure we understand that since we are outside, and there has been a precedent set that sometimes we want to just grow our facility and grow the use without incurring thousands of dollars of unnecessary fees, if that makes sense.
So,
Go
question.
ahead, Larry.
So what I'm getting is you probably wouldn't be open to replatting at all?
I don't see the use and need for that, as we're self-contained, and the city today can't provide us with services of water, of sewer. The road itself will not be a city road. Today it's a township road, so the growth plan down the road could obtain something, but I don't see it as a need for us. And, you know, we just did the same process south 150 foot, and we're operating that business successfully. And, you know, the reason we're doing that, this has a housing eligibility inside that. So we someday want to maybe move that house to the opposite side of the creek. But the city owns property to the north of us, and it's there's some road inside there, not part of this parcel, that we want to figure out that down the road. So I don't see it necessary for this process because we already have access to it 2, if not three ways, the water, the sewer. We're not inside the city limits. And we've already done this where we have not paid the plating fees and had multiple zoning districts inside of one parcel. I don't know if that helps answer your question or not.
A little bit, yeah.
And I can be more direct too if you have a.
Well, it's just, the thing is we have, I know maybe at this point we didn't do it, at that time. But, things, every developer wants that. And so that's the problem that once you said it once, we basically done other things like this where they've had to do that. And so that's where we kind of get in a sticky situation where down the road, just what's going on right now,
Yep.
nobody's going to want to pay that, but they want our services.
And I'm
so
not
the
asking for that.
Services are going to be there, and
Yep.
that's why that money's collected, so that it can be done that way. So that's where I'm kind of leaning, where I would go for a denial just because the replatting would be.
Well, the city's been asking me for part of my parcel once the road changes. I guess we'd ask for some grace inside of that if the city's going to want part of our parcel to make that road different. So it's a little bit different scenario than the Emerald Pines scenario, for example, because we rezoned both the same year, but we had different plans. They had a large parcel that they had to get to a smaller because of different ownership groups. This is the same ownership group, so we shouldn't need that reparceling process. I just don't know, the city, and again, everyone would have to get to attorneys to figure this out, but I'm not sure they really have the legal bounds to charge those fees outside of the city. There's different interpretations based on which attorney we've talked to. We just look at it as what use do we currently have? What use are we going to use? Where is our access? Do we need the city for anything? And today, we're all self-sufficient. And we're trying to be good neighbors as the county and the city want to change that road access. So I understand the concerns, but yeah, there's multiple zoning districts that happen throughout the county, which is different than the city. If we were selling it at that point, maybe we have to subdivide it or plat it at that point. That makes sense to me. Because we own 30 acres, that's not really making sense to me.
Any other questions for him?
I have a question for city staff. What
Go
would
ahead,
be
Jeff.
the platting fees?
I will do my best to answer a technical question that I don't get any say in, but it's going to depend on what the size of the area is going to be rezoned and what the uses are there. This location is probably going to be a commercial zoning. So going back to ones I do know the answers on, Emerald Pines, for instance, did a rezoning or a platting of approximately 3.21 acres, and their total fee was $87,600. We had another one inside city limits for another event barn done. They platted 2.06 acres, and their platting fee was $70,500, but that included a cost recovery for sewer connection as well. And so you can see we do have these existing event barns in similar rural settings. The second one obviously is a different, slightly different since it's actually annexed and has sanitary sewer, but the first one is the same exact issue and standard. And that was, again, $87,600 when they platted.
Thanks.
Okay, Jeff, you did have a motion on the floor, but I
I
didn't.
did, and I guess I'll remake my motion to approve this 2103, and I'll make a comment if there's a second.
I'll second it.
And Madam Chair, it's interesting that the city wants tens of thousands of dollars, but they're not actually saying they're against it, but they're just charging a boatload, which might preclude this young couple from moving forward with this.
Okay. I do have a motion and a second to approve the rezoning of 2101. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes on the county side.
Is there action on the city side?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the rezone.
I'll second
Second.
that.
Any discussion?
I'll be voting no on this. The reason for that is just we have every other person goes through the same process, and these are fees that are collected, and, I mean, everyone wants not to pay fees. I mean, I have developers all day that don't want to pay fees. But the infrastructure eventually is going to be there. There's going to be a lot of cars going through this property, and that's going to put a lot of wear and tear on to get there, so.
All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
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 Well, I think I need to vote then, don't I?
That's correct.
Okay, I vote no.
Scott, you come forward. Tell us what this means now.
So this means that when you do not have a unanimous consensus on an action, that it will go to that August 24th meeting of the city commission or city council, county commission with with basically no recommendation. So we'll indicate that there was a split decision and the elected officials will make their decision.
Is there any old business, Scott?
Sure. No, not old business, under new business,
Let's go ahead.
okay, under new business, I just wanted to let the joint commissions know that at our next meeting, which is August 24th, I believe, we will be having a discussion on our medical cannabis ordinance, just so you're aware that that will be one of the items. And so not only a joint city of Sioux Falls County, but we'll also have the joint city of Del Rapids, because we'll be adopting a medical cannabis ordinance with the city of Del Rapids. So there could be a lot of people here, 3 different meetings. So I just wanted to prep you for that, prep you on that time frame. So just a heads up.
So just a question, is it going to be informational, or is it going to be something we vote on?
No, it'll be a voting, it'll be an action item.
So since this is a new thing, is there a way that we can get kind of briefed on this ahead of time, just so that we understand what we're doing? It's never been anything that we've ever done, and we don't really know everything, so.
Well, I guess what I will punt that back to the city staff and let them, if they would like to, because our ordinances are all very similar. We've been working with a task force with Lincoln County, City of Sioux Falls, and our county, and we've also pulled in a number of smaller communities, and I've been working with Brandon, Del Rapids, and Hartford, and Crooks. So, because those cities ultimately will have to tackle their ordinances separately, and just as the city is going to be doing their ordinances separately, and we'll be doing ours separately on the 24th next month as well. So it's not real complicated. It's not a complicated ordinance, and I can, if you would like to tell me, I can let you know right now. Basically, we will be allowing a dispensary, and it'll be in the C commercial and the I-1 industrial as a permitted special use. If it meets a number of criteria, basically 1,000 feet from schools, parks, residential neighborhood, or residential neighborhoods and churches, and you have a couple other criteria, it would be a permitted special use. And then we're adopting a definition of what a dispensary is. So it's not real complicated. I've learned a lot about medical marijuana and marijuana over the last, I know Eric Bogue, our state's attorney, we've all been working on this, but, so basically there's 4 criteria that we have the possibility of working on. That's cultivation, manufacturing, testing, and then the dispensary. And we are only going to be allowing one of those 4 uses, and that is the dispensary. So and then there'll be a subsequent licensing ordinance, and that'll be similar to like how we would issue alcohol licenses. So we'll be working on the zoning component, And then there's going to be another ordinance that's being drafted by the city attorneys, state's attorneys on the licensure and how we issue those permits. So, I know that you weren't probably expecting a briefing on medical marijuana, but due to the time frame, we need to act urgently on this, just because then we'll have to go to the joint elected bodies, and then there's hearing notices, and we would like to get this adopted and effective in October. So that's why we need to move ahead on it.
If there's anything you can share with us so that we could get up to date, because, I mean, it's not something that we typically deal with, and I think they're just like alcohol, it could be a concern to a lot of people.
Yep,
so.
it can be. And we'll strive to get the ordinance, that information on the text amendment out to you as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Scott, I think this, if we're going to have that along with our regular meeting, it seems like we should maybe have a standalone meeting for the medical marijuana part, and then do our regular real estate stuff separately. I mean,
Well, at this point, we have no items, so it might be, do we have an item? We have an item already, so sorry about that. But
sounds good.
we'll make it as clear as possible for you.
Can that one item be first?
Do the one item first.
Nuclear reactor. They're gonna-
That's all I have.
Thanks, Scott.
Move adjournment for the joint meeting.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and second to adjourn the meeting on the county side. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
On the city side, is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, move to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion passes. We are adjourned.